It's not every day that one of RT's own experiences backlash from a news report. But that's exactly what happened in the aftermath of a story covered on Breaking the Set. Yesterday, Abby Martin brought attention to the plight of independent journalists who have been blocked from being recognized on the collaborative information website Wikipedia. Here's a look at part of that report.
This issue calls into question the way Wikipedia decides who and what is notable enough to be worthy of the text on its site. On the deletion thread, editors Deanna and Kurziak explain that I'm not notable enough for my own page because apparently they couldn't verify any of the information about me through third-party sources. Now, I found this interesting, considering how there are dozens of third-party sites that have talked in depth about my work as well as this show, including Juan Cole, Whiteout Press, Der Spiegel, Max Kaiser, Al Jeminer, Joe Rogan, Stuart Wild, Global Post, and Firedog Lake. Yet, none of these sites are apparently notable enough to allow me a sacred page.
I was joined earlier by Breaking the Set host Abby Martin, and I asked her how she found out about this issue to begin with.
I don't really care if I have a page on Wikipedia. I just thought it was funny. My dad at Christmas was like, hey, you're on Wikipedia. It's really cool. And I saw that the page had gotten removed, and then it got resubmitted by another user, and then it got removed again. And someone wrote an article about it saying, hey, what's the deal? And so I kind of just wanted to bring attention to the fact that this editing process is actually really skewed.
Well, how does it work? I mean, can anyone just upload an entry? Or?
Yes, anyone who's a user can create, edit, or vote to delete content. But there's only a sacred few admins that can kind of oversee the whole process, and they consider anything that's really not corporate media unverifiable third-party sources that they can't, validate your page from being up.
That's incredible. Well, what happened since you brought up the issue of your Wikipedia page yesterday?
Yeah, so after I did that report, I saw that someone had given me a revisionist history, because on Wikipedia you can see the whole thread of everyone who's kind of talking about it and why they chose to make these actions that they did. And on the very top it just says, user John Reeves actually voted to block all non-admin users to recreate my page indefinitely. So this is basically him.
It explicitly says that.
It explicitly says that he is blocking all non-admin users from ever recreating my page. So it's kind of, I don't know what.
That's incredible.
I just have no idea what to say. I mean, I'm just kind of appalled at the fact that even if someone tries to, verify these sources, I'm blocked now.
And you know for sure that that wasn't an issue before yesterday's broadcast?
No, I don't know. I mean, it happened yesterday.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a little bit of a coincidence. I think maybe people flooded Wikipedia and was saying, hey, what happened? And he was just like, hey, screw this. I'm going to just block it. I think it's a personal bias decision, and that's the problem, is that with this online encyclopedia, it is ultimately up to the subjective personal bias of these admins.
Right.
And that's really, I think, what the editorial decision was. And hopefully, it'll be reinstated. I actually heard from another Wikipedia admin who was like, I was lobbying for you. I'm going to try to get it back up. And I was just like, this is crazy.
Have your Breaking the Set audience sort of been involved in this at all? Or?
They've been lobbying Wikipedia, and they're kind of just figuring out. I mean, I just figured out kind of how kind of shady this whole process really is. There's a whole corporation called WikiPR that you can essentially, pay to make your page verifiable and all this stuff. So it really goes back to how it can be bought. Just like a democracy.
It's definitely gotten more difficult, I think, over the years. There are a lot of people I knew that personally had Wikipedia pages that all of a sudden were taken down.
Yeah, and it's based on a notability standard that really applies to whatever the bias is of the admin that's in question.
Well, lastly, a lot of people see Wikipedia as an accurate source because obviously it wrinkles through a lot of those biases, and you think of it as this sort of, generic, sort of objective site for information. Do you think this incident should really change how people perceive the site? I mean, it definitely changed the way that I perceive the site. I mean, of course, teachers will say, don't go to Wikipedia for your sources, but you do, because then you can link back to the down citations and you can see what everything's linked back to. But the thing is, when you're reading the first paragraph, you are influenced by the bias that's put out there by these admins. And so really, I think people should just take a second look at, what's deemed a consensus. Absolutely, I definitely will. Well, host of Breaking the Set, Abby Martin, thank you so much.